You go out in the city, Calcutta also, because this is not the Calcutta I ever imagined in my life when I was not here, that Calcutta would look like this. I think it has the maximum number of billboards in the country. I mean, that's my perception of it. Now
maximum number of people in any city also.
That too I knew, but boards and these
so many eyes to catch.
Images, हाँ, तो वो जो चीज़ है ना पूरी, तो जैसे आप शहर में बाहर निकलते हो, तो आप शहर को नहीं देख पाते. You're only watching these billboards. Finally, you look at in the taxi what you're looking at. Finally, exactly like in the mall, what you're looking at. You're not looking at people. You're looking at things. You're guided by. There's so much information. There's so much information. Mind can't process, and you just go on looking. And then there is your mobile phone. That's the most time you spend there. Is with texts again. So text is also an image. It's not sound. Finally, though it is a spoken word. So, but that we have taken out the spoken aspect of it. So I feel that is making sound much more urgent and real now, because that's the real thing. And this is the virtual aspect, which is totally going with the eye, totally going out. I mean, for the very simple reason that the movement of the eye is outward and ear is inward. They're reverse movements. So we all know that. Now, that experience of what sound does to you and how real it can make somebody, is very clear.
And also, if you look at it, that your field of vision is much more limited than your field of hearing. So, sound is always about scale, about depth. And because I cannot perceive the scale of this city by sitting here and looking at this room alone. The sound of this thing that went outside, the train line outside, then the clouds, then something, birds. So they will tell me that I'm in a scale which is much larger than I am. So the diegesis of a film, the imagined universe where the real story is unfolding of the film, is always a vector of sound, which the earlier films had to compensate by motion. The earliest films had to compensate the absence of sound by motion, visible motion. And slowly the compensation has gone out and it has become its own attribute. So it's a scale, and it's the whole thing, that the depth of my perception that can be tapped while I'm watching a film or viewing a film. So sound also taps your perception.
Where I feel that sound is again, very close to editing. Like even in film, the sound was done by editors mostly. The main, what you hear, what the sound is.
Watermarks,
Yeah.
Because he looking at the timeline of Apocalypse Now would be something very different when he's doing the sound, rather than thinking somebody else will do something to it sometime.
Because you can't think without that. No? Sound brings the.
Can't think, but there's no point thinking without that now. No?
I mean, for me, the sound.
In FAMU, the editing and the sound course are same. Is one course.
Same course.
Same course. Editing and sound post-production sound. Because it is like that only. Has been like that.
I mean, that's where time is, no? Sound is time.
Meaning like sound is time. Please just little.
See, the thing is that what is the length of the thing, which can be manipulated in an image by slowing it down, by cutting. By a cut you can experience time in a different way, but sound is continuous. It is continuous. It is not broken up in that way. It cannot be. If you have to listen to this conversation you're recording, you'll have to listen to each and every word from beginning to end. But in this, the shot, you can go over and see, you can go forward and see what is there, sound, you can't do that. It's real time. You hear it real time.
The felt duration is always a vector of the sound. The felt duration of the thing on the timeline, the screen, is always by virtue of the sound, not by just the cutting of the picture.
So I think there is something again very immediate gratification, if I can use that word, in the camera and the process of edit also. But in sound again, it's real time. There is no thrill, there is no ecstasy, it just goes on and on and on. It just has to make you real. I mean, it just has to slow you down. You can't go so fast.
Yeah.
simply you can't. You will go and hit yourself in the billboard. That's where we are hit. So I don't know how long it will take in India, but I really think that's really the next step, which also your audience is looking for, because everybody can take a very nice picture now. Whatever was thought nice and seductive, they can take of themselves also and others also, and whatever, manipulate it and morph it. And तो अभी क्या magic वहाँ दिखाने का बचा नहीं है कुछ. I mean to say just breaking just breaking its earlier bonds with whatever fidelity bonds. That married print. It's called married print, right? So I mean, sound is going on its own way, and picture is going on its own way.
Bite the dust, I say, child, not the Bible.
I think it's very free. It's making the medium and the image very free, because sound only can free the image also. I think it's getting very, very sucked into the whole thing. So you need that to.
Derek Jim made a film called Blue. The whole screen is just blue and the soundtrack is just there. Kirsten has done that with ABC Africa. So many people have done that with sound, just sound. Kirsten is being the foremost. How this is a premonition. You can't imagine a Jarmusch film without the sound aspect of it.
और मुझे यहाँ पे लगता है कि एक शब्द का इंडिया, यहाँ तक सिनेमा का सवाल है, वो कई सारे लेयर्स हैं साउंड में, और उसमें डायलॉग एक लेयर है, but that has become the only layer of sound here as far as the mainstream cinema is concerned, and most of the alternate so-called also, because in a way that remains the focus of something, and that becomes an annotation of the image. So the image is also not allowed to go much more than it can go. It has the crutch of the sound.
Yeah,
that's because they just need to hear the dialogue.
But that's not sound. That's what I'm saying. That's where sound is stuck, because here sound.
Because we have problems with words. We are not allowed to speak.
Exactly.
These are very intrinsic social dilemmas and diseases that cinema addresses. It lets you speak. Who can sing a song to a girl, in the way Hindi cinema dares you to do? You see, who can imagine of putting a kick in somebody's belly and sending it to Pluto like a Hollywood film does? So these are popular things because people just speak. It's like speaking something. It's expressing your opinion. It's not even participation. It's expressing your opinion. So I chose to march it to Gusi Mere Dili, city Mali side. There's that,
You're saying there's so much of dialogue.
In Indian cinema. Meaning in a certain way.
So much violence, and so much surveillance, and so much patriarchal control. So all that speaking has become the main thing here.
We're allowed to speak,
We're not allowed. We have to face it. बोल रहे हैं, जब तक वो बोलना खत्म नहीं होगा तब तक तो बोलेंगे.
ऐसा हो गया कि फॉल्स इशू बन गया. बोलना मेन इशू नहीं है, यही बोल गया कि इतना बोलने पे पाबंदी है कि बोल के ही खुश हो गया. अरे यार, बोलना भी एक्चुअली फाइनल थिंग नहीं था, बट इतना बोलने के ऊपर ही लगा दिया कि साला गॉट अप गेम हो गया पहले से. मैंने पीपल बोलने लगा और उसी से खुश है. अरे यार, come on,
This is not what he meant when he said बोल के लव आजाद.
He didn't ever.
He didn't mean that.